So what's your belief on how long we can live?
Yeah. So I believe that there are people alive today that are going to live to be 200 years old and be healthy during that whole time and healthy, performing, active adults. I don't think that today we have that technology, but I do think today we have the technology that's going to help people live another 20, 30 years. So in 20, 30 years, when we have that technology, is going to be able to help people to add that 50 to 100 more years to their life. So yeah, so when I'm working with clients, I tell them, hey, you better plan on working with me for the next 100 years because that's what we're gonna make happen. So
So what do we need to do that? Like, what's the secret? How do we do it?
some of it we don't know yet, but we will learn. I'm confident in the next, like I said, 20, 30 years, the rate of technological advancements are going to be there. But we do know a lot. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to people, I talk about there's a normal aging curve. And so people are on that curve. So basically you peak in your health somewhere around your 20s and 30s, and then it's a slow decline since then. And then average life expectancy is mid 70s, a little bit less for men, a little bit more for women with that. And especially those last years in kind of the conventional thinking, the quality of life is really low. And that's the normal aging curve. And if we wanted to add a little more years to that, there's what I call healthy aging. And that's just the basics of eating right and exercising and just doing a little bit more better than the average person. And there's people that are doing this already, people that are already active and healthy that just for whatever reason they live 10 years longer. They might be the same age as someone, but they can, hit the golf ball further or they just function a little bit better. But so that's the healthy aging curve. And then the next level beyond that is what I call anti-aging medicine and performance medicine. And that's where we get more of a deep dive into you, into your health, and we do even more nutritional supplementation and building up. We're adding in hormone therapies, we're adding in peptide therapies, we're adding in stem cell therapies. And that's when we can really start, reversing that aging curve and helping people feel younger and perform better. And there's a lot of new testing that's out in our modern world. And so we can do some of those tests and then from there figure out what the body needs to reverse those signs of aging. And so that's that extra third kind of aging curve where we're able to add years and add performance and add function and help people feel better. And then there's the fourth, which is the future one, where people that are on that higher curve, we can then help them take and extend even more years that is coming.
It's so fascinating, like 20, 30 years ago, if you had started talking about that, they would have said you're crazy as science fiction, right?
Right.
We actually can see it now, right? Like you're saying that you can see where we're going and the progression we've made, and that there's a lot more to learn. So what we're really doing is slowing the aging process down. Would that be a great way of sort of explaining it?
Yeah, for sure. And also it depends where you are. Some people that there's a lot going on, we feel like we can reverse. We can reverse damage, reverse problems. But overall, we want to slow that down. There's some tests that are out there now, which are not my favorite because I still feel like they need to be vetted out a little bit. But they'll give you like a rate of how much you're aging. And so if your score is less than 1 year, then that means you're slowing down that aging process. You're only aging, zero point 0.8 in a 1 year chronological time. And so, yeah, that's the goal is to be able to do that, slow that aging process. But then even like I said, there's a lot of opportunity to reverse some of the damage that's there. And so we might not be able to get your body functioning back like it did when it was 20, but we can get you, significantly higher functioning than you might have if you're on a normal unhealthy aging curve.
Yeah, because that's that I see a lot too is when I work with people, I'm working more with the brain, right, which also affects the body. But I'm seeing that, in particular, childhood trauma has a major effect, and that will age you a lot quicker. And then also just regular day-to-day stress. So you seeing a lot of stress having a big effect on the way people are aging?
Yeah, for sure. And really, stress is such a broad term. Yes, everything is stress. Inflammation is stress. Past trauma is stress. And, the disagreement with your spouse is stress. Raising kids is stressful. Going to work is stressful. But also, so is eating bad foods. So is eating processed foods. So is all those things. They're all stress. And the body it's not able to discern between what stresses there are. It just knows that it's stress. And so that's why if there's one big major trigger of those stressful events and gets you out of your normal functioning, it can have a big effect. But yeah, I think 90%, maybe 95% of all the accelerated aging and problems are tied back to stress on some level.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I say as well. I think 80% of all the illnesses we're seeing are psychological based,
Right.
and 20% are physical,
Yeah.
which we could deal with a lot better if we knew what we were dealing with. That's why I think what you're doing, Dr. J, is the future of medicine, traditional approach of what we've been doing up to this point really has not been very, it's managed it, but it's not fixing it. And
Right.
my wife is a great example because she had trauma in her childhood, a very violent father, a lot of issues. And she says at no point did she ever, in any examination by a doctor, get asked if she'd had trauma. And yet that was the major issue that she was dealing with. But they just dealt with the symptoms of it. Are you finding that as well?
Yeah, that is the big problem, and that's why people are so kind of disillusioned and so frustrated with conventional medicine is because they just chase symptoms around like it's whack-a-mole, and like it's a game at the fair. You know, a symptom pops up, let's just whack it. Another symptom pops up, oh, let's just throw a pill at that, throw a pill at that, throw a pill at that, or throw even a surgery. A surgery is just a big whack-a-mole mallet in a lot of cases. I talked with a guy just on Monday, and he's on his fourth bypass coming up soon, bypass surgery, and he's still crazy out of control diabetic. His like blood sugar's out of control, blood pressure out of control. He's worried about cholesterol. I'm less worried about his cholesterol. I'm more worried about all those things that are causing that. And I'm talking with him, like just listening to him, like this guy just has trauma after trauma after trauma, which puts him in a state where he's not willing to take care of himself. And so, yeah, it definitely all adds up and leads to people where mentally and emotionally they can't handle the situation, and so they're relying on pills or alcohol or something to cover those symptoms up, and then things get so bad that it's really hard to work to reverse that physiologically on top of that.
Yeah. I talk about walking around with a 165-pound backpack of trauma,
Yeah.
right? That's going to wear the system down. You're not designed to carry that extra weight. And that's going to have, a major influence on your bones, on everything in your system. So if we can get that 165-pound backpack on, it's going to make what you do so much more effective. So that's no, I'm excited about working with you because I know we can do a lot of really great things together, dealing with the trauma and then dealing with all the physical things.
No, I'm excited about it too. And the guy that I talked to yesterday, basically every question I had, he kept referring back to that 165-pound backpack, and whether it was his disagreement with his wife or this business partner that did this, whatever, all those traumas have just added up, and he's still carrying them around. And like I basically told him, like, you have 2 years that you can live miserably, or you can do something completely different and live 30 years in a healthy way if you want to. And surprisingly, he's like, I need to think about it. It's going to be hard for him to get that 165-pound backpack off with the trauma and things that he's going through. So yeah, hopefully he'll make the decision that's best for him. So,
Well, I find it what it comes down to is identity. They start identifying that that's who they are. And so they pick up all of those things and they've lived with them for so long that, if I'd walked for 20 years with a sprained ankle and you told me you could fix my ankle, I'd say, I think I'm okay. I've been walking for 20 years with it. It's not really bothering me. It's just you've gotten used to dealing with it. And that's where they sometimes struggle with why do they want to come in? They're okay,
yeah,
but don't know what healthy feels like anymore. Well, if
yeah.
they don't know what healthy feels like and somebody comes along and says, I can make you healthy, they don't know what that would be.